Hello and welcome to Creativity TV.
On today's show, docrafts designer Jo Austin shows you how to make a Christmas advent with a difference.
Let's take a look. There's one thing that my children really love about Christmas, and that's the 1st of December when they can actually get to open their advent calendars. Don't think it's just children, actually, I love it too. So what I've done this time for you is to just come up with this little advent calendar here. And the beauty of this one, it's refillable. You've got little doors on there that you can fill up every year. So it creates a little keepsake for your children, something that you can pass down. So to create the box part of your advent calendar, what I've done is I've taken a sheet of 27 by 27 centimetres of card, and this can be whatever colour you like. So all we're doing is creating the outer frame. And what I've started to do is just divide it into 3 centimetre sections. To do this, I've taken the multi-scoreboard and I'm just going to score with the line between line 3 and line 5. So pop your pre-scored line on line 3 and then score line 5. And then move that one along to line 3. And just keep repeating that score line all the way across this card section. So what you've got then is a piece of card that's got score lines in every direction at 3 centimetres. So what we need to do then is just cut these corners of this card. To do this, we're going to crease up the last 2 lines all the way around the card, the first section and the second section only. With those sections nicely creased, we can then take a scissors and just cut down 2 sections at the top, down to the second section on the sides. And then we're just going to cut the corners off. So 2 sections off the first piece and 1 section off the second piece to create this type of corner. So we'll just repeat those cuts all the way around the outside on each of the corners. So then we're left with the shapes at each corner. This is what we're going to use to create our box. So now we just need to take some adhesive and we're going to apply a little bit of adhesive onto these little flaps that are sticking out in the corners. So on this one we'll just fold it back, place some adhesive on there, repeat it on the second side, and fold this little section up and pull your other piece of card up to match. We've then created a nice little corner of our box. We're then going to repeat this on the bottom section as well. And there is our little box. So we don't need to worry too much about these little flap sections at the sides there for the moment, because first of all we need to create the individual dividers that are going to go into the centre. So to create the dividers, you're going to take a piece of card 17 centimetres across by 6 centimetres deep, and we're just going to score these sections on our scoreboard. Now we need 8 of these all together, 4 to go across and 4 to go down the centres. So we're going to pop it on our scoreboard again, And we're going to line it up with line 3 and score it on line 5. This is going to divide that piece of card in half to create a double folded piece of card. To create the sections that are going to hold our sections together, we're going to place it onto line 4 this time and score on line 5, just to create a little score line along this edge. We can then place that onto line 3 and again score at line 5, place that to line 3 and just repeat that all the way across your card. So we're dividing this piece of card up into 3 centimetre sections with about a ½ centimetre at each end. So there's our little piece of scored card. So now we're going to trim this down to create those dividers. To do this, we need to trim it in 2 different ways. So you need 4 trimmed in this way, and we need to take the top little sections off the corners. So we're just going to cut down on those ½ centimetre sections, and then we can fold these 2 little sections back and repeat that at the other end. And then we need to cut down on 4 of the sections across this folded edge to create a little V type snip. So I'm just going to cut a little V section either side of where I've scored those lines. And we need to be going round about halfway or around about 3/4 of the way down that side. On your 4 other sections, we're going to do it the opposite way round. We still need to take off these corner sections. So we just snip those off and then fold these little flaps back again. Exactly the same as we did before. But this time we need to cut from this open edge upwards to the folded edge. And again, just create little V snips all the way across your card, about 3/4 of the way down where those embossed lines are. Now all we need to do is to pop these into our box. So to create the partition sections of our box, I've just folded these outside sections back on themselves just to give me a little bit more room. And then we can take our dividers and just put them in the sections you know that they need to be in. So we're going to take the 4 sections that are cut from the top to begin with. So I'll just apply a little bit of tape to these sections at the ends. And these are going to sit against the score lines that we've got on the box. So if we pop it in, the folded section is going to butt up onto the score line there, and on the score line at this end as well. And just make sure it's stuck securely at each end, and that's our first layer in, and we're just going to repeat it with all the other layers. So this one's the last one to go in. And there you can see we've got all our little shelves in position. We then need to repeat it with the pieces that are going to come the opposite way. So again, exactly the same as before, little bit of adhesive at each end. And this time, they're going to slip in between the notches on the pieces of card that are going across. So if you just give it a little wiggle as you're putting it into your box, you'll find that they'll fit absolutely perfectly. These lines across are going to give it a little bit of support for when you pop your chocolates in there. So put the other 3 rows in exactly the same way. So now we can just pop this last section in. So again, just give it a little wiggle and stick it to either side, nice and securely. So there's your grid in place. Now to hold these side sections in place, we need to do a little bit of cutting around these edges. So what we're going to do is just snip in little V sections again, all the way around the outside. And when all those are snipped, again, we can just add a little bit of adhesive onto each of these sections. They will hold the layers of these blocks in and they'll stay secure, so you don't need a lot of glue on these. And then all we need to do is to fold these sections in and just press them into position. So now on our last side, the final few are being pressed in. Just make sure that they're all stuck down securely. And there's our little completed box. Now all we need to do is to mount it on the back section and decorate it up. So for the support for the back, what I've actually taken is a piece of card, and this one's out of the A5 card and envelope pack. You always get a little bit of board at the back of your Anita's cards, and it's just perfect for creating this type of box. So to do this, I'm going to leave the plain side at the back, and the side that's got the label on, I'm going to cover. So to cover it, I've taken some paper out of the Christmas Tidings paper pack, and I've got some tape on the back there. Now I've used a double-sided tape because I need it to be super sticky. Now this is going to sit and cover the whole of the top section of this card. It doesn't have to go right down to the bottom, because the base of our advent that we created a minute ago is going to sit from edge to edge. So all we really need to be covered is this top section here. What we need to do now is to attach this box onto this base section. So to do this, I think the easiest thing to use is a little bit of silicone. So I'm just going to pop some silicone all the way around the outside. And just a couple of dots in the centre. We can then turn it over and place this edge to edge and give it a press down. Now we need to leave that to one side just for a few hours to dry. When it's dried, we can then start to decorate this top section here. And to do this, I've just taken one of the greeting cards from the same collection, and it's got decoupage on the front, which is this little element here, and this is your greeting card. So the greeting card will actually rock. So I want to create a movable element this time on the top of my box. So to do this, we're just going to place the box top onto a mat. We can open the card, and on the inside just make a little hole. We can pop a brad in there to hold it, and that's in the centre of that circle. And then just open the brad at the back of the box. I've then placed some double-sided tape on the top section of this circle, and this is going to stick the circle in half. So just fold it down and give it a press. And you can see there we've got this little movable element at the top. Now we just need to decorate it up with our decoupage. So the first layer I'm going to put on completely flat, and again, just for extra sticky, I'm using double-sided tape. And then the decoupage, I'm going to use 3D foam pads or silicone, whichever you prefer. And that will stick on top. So there's the top section of our card finished. For the doors, I've actually used the X-cut nesting dies, and this is the 4 petal that I've used. And I've cut out some little doors, the same colour as the main section of our box. And I've used the second size on this set of dies. Now we need to cut 25 doors. When you've cut them, we can just apply a little bit of double-sided tape or wet glue just to one section, and then we can fold these little sections up, create a little crease, and these are going to sit edge to edge on the base sections of the box. And then all we need to do is to tuck these in, and that creates your little door. To decorate these doors, there are a couple of different things that you can do. You can use photographs to put onto the front, or you can stamp images on there. What I've chosen to do is to use the Christmas Tidings card, and I'm going to use the main section of this card to decorate the front. So I've cut the card in half. I've put it onto my scoreboard and scored the lines between lines 3 and 5 exactly as I did before, but I gave them a little file just to make them stand out a little bit more so I can see where I need to cut. On the back of those lines, I've then created a grid, and I've put double-sided tape down where those lines are scored, and I've numbered them so I know which layer goes on which section. So I've worked from the right across to the left. Just makes it easier when placing your little box sections. So for this little door here, I'm going to cut inside those scored lines, and this will create my first section. So when you've got all your doors in place, all we need to do then is to make a hole in the top, and again just use a fancy brad. And then when we open these little doors here, you can pop chocolates behind them. So if I just lift up my completed one again, this is the one that I finished decorating, and I've popped ribbon around the outside, a couple of loops of ribbon across the top, and on the doors I've put some little pearl brads which are going to open and reveal your nice little chocolates underneath.
I always know that Jo will use her X-cut scoreboard. That tool is her magic weapon. Creating the folds and simple measuring couldn't be easier.
Jo always manages to create really interesting projects with the scoreboard, and Jo's use of the X-cut nesting dies is a great way to use them.
I like the idea of making something like this as a reward chart for my little girls, a little treat at the end of each day when they've done something good.
It's a great idea. Docrafts designer and Creativity Club member Jenny Pearce has created a Christmas card using the same paper range.
She's also used your Creativity Club download that you designed for us, and it was a gardening collection.
That's right.
So she's actually used the red from it and the journaling tag as well.
Really clever.
For it. Yeah.
If you've been inspired to create something similar, then do get in touch with us at tv@docrafts.com, and you may get featured on a future episode of Creativity TV.
You will find details of how to make today's projects right here in the Creativity Club.
Until next time, happy crafting.